What's up, guys? It's our Jackson. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're reacting to Darkseid vs. Trigon, who will win by WebCamParrot. Now, WebCamParrot is one of my favorite new power scares out there. He is really, really good. He's made some great videos, like the DC Multiverse Explain video and the John Constantine video. Which I was like, damn, I didn't even know John Constantine rolled like that. Really, when I watched the video, I was like, yeah, this dude's a savage. But he's one of the best power scares out there for me right now, especially on YouTube. Along with like one of my favorites, be like Swag Clock, Seth, and Chuck the Cybercuck. So all the credit goes to him. This nothing's mine. I will post a link down below to in a little bit. A link down below is Chris's original video as well. That's his YouTube, his YouTube channel. I think his Patreon, and I think his Twitter as well. I believe some other stuff, but they'll all be down there. If you guys want to go down and check him out, please go support him. He's amazing, help him grow his channel. That's how I want to take anything from him. He wants me to like, wants me to take down this video, that is fine. I have no complaints as this is. But I just want to react to because I had just watched Justice League Dark a few days ago. Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, I think on last Friday. And it was fucking amazing. Easy the best DC anime movie. I think the best comic anime movie of all time for me. It was just incredible from the fight scenes to the characters. Like, everything, just love it. I love the fact how John was like the centerpiece of the movie. It's gonna be, I'm a little bit of spoilers I don't talk about it. But towards the end of that movie, we get to see Darkseid and Trigon actually throw down, and it was fucking epic. Like, because that's something we've never, I don't believe, I did a little bit of research, but I don't think something we've ever seen in a comic book, and not what I can find, we've never seen them fight. So, when I saw it, I was like, oh shit, this is crazy, and I knew there were going to be people on YouTube going to be talking about it, people going to be like, guessing who would win, and there are going to be certain YouTubers making a video about it. So, when I saw what Parrot made, I was like, I want to react to it because, like I said, he's one of the best pirates up there, and he really knows his shit, and I think he can really give both justice to both these characters, and really give us kind of a fair fight. Now, the mindful guys, like, we actually saw this fight on Earth, like, our bodies would explode because they were just so actually powerful. But we're going to get right into the video. If you guys like, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share, let me know your thoughts down below. Make sure to check out all the links down below. I'll put there first. What Parrot, again, go support him. Check out my links down below in the description. I'll be on my social media. But let's get right into the video.
Hey y'all, WebCamParrot here, to talk about a matchup between the Dark Lord of Apocalypse, Darkseid, and Trigon, the Destroyer of All. In the recent DCAU movie Justice League Dark Apocalypse War, we saw these two titans of evil face off against each other, a matchup that we have never seen on the comic book page before. I've seen a lot of discussion over this particular fight, with some of you saying that Trigon doesn't stand a chance against the new god Darkseid. And so I'm here today
because Trigon is like Mr. Manipulate. Well, he's a singular. He's just like, he's a multiversal singularity. He just across all multiverses, and he was even able to fight Mr. Mixaplate from in the Injustice universe. The fight was nearly, they said, kept going, will destroy all creation. So, and then he's just in the realm of hell, one of the higher realms. So, I think they're a lot even than people think they are. And for from different power scares, true form Darkseid, I've seen people say high hyperverse. I've seen people say Outerverse. I've seen people say low complex world. I don't think true form Darkseid is like, because he's like a living archetype. So I can tell you guys know what I'm saying. Idea that is just beyond all physical forms and things like that. So I think he's at least high hyperversal to Outerverses for me. And for Trigon, I've seen high universal to high multiversal to high complex multiversal. So, but like I said, we'll just see what Parrot has to say.
To try and answer the question of who would win between these two classic DC villains. Plus, I feel like this is a fight that we can all appreciate.
Can you imagine Darkseid?
I'll be using the rebirth versions of both of these characters, which encompasses the New 52 and post-crisis versions as well. Not that either of these characters were ever retconned by any crisis events, but hey. Right away, I think it's necessary to debunk a pretty huge misconception surrounding Darkseid and what his true form entails. Some seem to think that Darkseid always uses avatars or emanations when he visits the regular universe, which could not be further from the truth.
Really?
Darkseid specifically tells us directly in the comics that he hates using avatars and almost never uses them. It's also pretty obvious when an avatar is being used. They're kind of like pre-programmed robots and don't really act like the real Darkseid at
Darkseid
all.
is always depressing.
The reason Darkseid seems so much weaker when he's in the regular universe isn't because he's using an avatar, it's because of how boom tubes work.
Okay.
A boom tube will adjust your size to whichever destination you are trying to reach. So, although Darkseid is significantly larger than universes, and is essentially a living idea beyond all physical limits on Apokolips, he isn't this powerful whilst he is standing on Earth. This version of Darkseid is something that myself and others refer to as dwindled Darkseid. Of course, at his full power, he could simply choose to destroy the regular universe at any time he wanted to, were he to use his full size. That's just never been Darkseid's goal, really. He prefers domination to outright destruction. Don't worry though, for this video I will of course be using Darkseid at the full height of his power and not his dwindled self. I'll be covering Darkseid first and Trigon in the second half of the video. Something that people really underestimate about Darkseid is that he is really a god amongst gods. Most of the other new and old gods don't really compare to him at all. Comparing Darkseid to someone like Mr. Miracle is like comparing Jimmy Olsen to Superman. Even before becoming...
Well, comparing hot dogs to hamburger, obviously one is on a much higher level.
Darkseid, Uaxis drained the vast majority of the dead race of the old god's power, and his current level of strength reflects this immense power that he gained. Darkseid has wiped out and stolen the power from entire pantheons of gods, and even when he had an army of old gods banging down his doors, it was a simple matter for him to erase them down to the last man with one blast from his Omega beams. A blaster that could kill anyone on Apokolips, excluding maybe Kalibak, was said to be essentially useless against Darkseid, and even the new god's embodiment of death, the Black Racer, has been cowed by the Lord of Apokolips more than once, and can be called into battle to serve him. A Jimmy Olsen empowered by the majority of the new gods only seemed to be a fair match for Darkseid in their battle. Eclipso was utterly dominated by him in a one-on-one fight, and during Final Crisis it was stated that the Spectre was powerless to stop Darkseid. In one of his numerous fights with Highfather, they accidentally cracked the Source Wall, and Darkseid has been able to create Stain, the equal of Tachyon, who himself is an embodiment of the Source. Several of Darkseid's engagements with his son Orion have been direct threats to the Source itself, and on one occasion Orion's Astroforce was directly compared to the Source as well.
The only problem is I don't know how that can equate to now though, because with the whole, Source being the big creator of the Super Celestials and Perpetua and the whole Omniverse thing. I don't know how to compare to now, because it seems like they kind of upgrade the Source in DC Comics to being like the top big dog, because when Perpetua was released, all the new dogs were wiped out, and were they went back to the Source or something like that, I think, and then Darkseid had to run behind, and that's why in Justice League Odyssey, you guys can read, he's trying to create his new reality that he could rule away from Perpetua. So it's kind of where I know these are kind of old, these are older issues of Thanos, but even Darkseid, but because he is Darkseid, it really shouldn't matter, because Darkseid, there's no different versions, they're all just Darkseid. But I don't know, that's just my thought. Somebody let me know. Like I said, I'm not the most knowledgeable about Power Scan, but that's something to think about.
By extension, Darkseid also scales to Sivar, a being that was going to destroy all of creation by dancing, that Orion was able to combat with Boom Tube Superman.
That dude was crazy strong.
On top of this incredible raw power, Darkseid has access to a number of different abilities, notably the Omega Beams. These beams have a wide variety of effects, but can most often be seen as erasure, referred to often as termination itself, and the ultimate wipeout.
Terminator box.
It can also send others to Apocalypse or to the Omega Sanction, which traps its target within an infinite loop of lives and deaths, each worse than the last.
Damn.
It was also able to trap Cyborg Superman's soul within a marble and sent Slowbo backwards through time. There is more to Darkseid's skill set, but they usually require time for him to enact, and they will be more relevant later, so I'll leave Darkseid there and move on to the demon Trigon.
Oh, this is on the wing for
Now, I say demon because Trigon is referred to as a demon several times, but he is far, far worse than any demon. I'll probably do a video that goes into more depth on what exactly demons are in DC, and the hierarchy of hell itself, so for this video I'll just be brief. Most demons are directly spawned from the very nature of hell itself, or are the children of such beings. These demons seem to be referred to as Hellions, with some examples being Nogol, Etrigan, and Ranvadath. Etrigan is a Hellion presumably because his mother is a Hellion, even if his father Belial arguably isn't. Other demons, known as the Lilim, were born from Lilith, such as Mazikeen. And the last type seems to be angels who turned against God and were cast out from heaven to become demons, with some good examples being Neuron, Asmodeus, and of course Lucifer himself. Trigon is no Lilim. He's no Hellion or fallen angel. He is a being of pure evil itself. In a realm outside of all dimensions resides the peaceful people of Azarath. In an effort to improve themselves, they cast...
So he's already out of verse because he just said in Dimension Beyond, outside all dimensions. So I said qualify Trigon be out of verse.
Their evil out into the ultimate void, beyond even the distant realm that is their home. There, out in the great nothing, this darkness coalesced, merging together into a sentient living being that would eventually become Trigon. But this power was not enough for Trigon, who was aware of a group of beings known as the Divine. They would traverse reality, looking for beings with evil in their hearts, and draining them of it using the Heart of Darkness, a powerful primordial entity that had drained the evil from countless universes and galaxies.
Damn.
When the Divine exposed Trigon to this entity, rather than having his evil drained by it, he merged with it, instead absorbing the power of the Heart of Evil into himself.
Evil against Trigon, like evil against evil.
Darkseid is certainly evil, but contrary to what some people have said, he is not pure evil.
Really?
Darkseid is the order within chaos. He brings order to the chaotic world of Apocalypse, and generally wants things to follow a certain set of rules.
That's true.
Like, it is possible to work with Darkseid and make deals with him that he will honor, even if the deal ultimately benefits him.
That's like when him and his brother teamed up to fight against their father because he was just, I believe it was when he succumbed, he was just so much more powerful that Darkseid was just scared shitless. It's kind of like, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So it's like you're gonna team up to take out the bigger enemy, and it happens all the time in comic books and characters stuff like that.
Or he uses some kind of loophole. But Trigon literally doesn't care at all about any of that. In one storyline, he agreed to leave the Earth alone if he got to take Raven with him. So he took Raven home, showed her around his palace, tortured and vaporized an innocent child, you know, the usual.
Damn.
Then, at the end of the day, not even 24 hours after making the deal, he just said, okay, time to invade the Earth now, lol. Darkseid is the kind of guy to promise not to shoot you in the face, only to just shoot you in the back, because that technically wasn't a part of the deal.
True.
Trigon will promise not to shoot you in the face anyway, and he'll probably shoot you in the back whilst you're lying half dead in the dirt afterwards for the fun of it.
That's not a
He
fun
really
guy.
has absolutely no honor, and definitely stands a good chance
he is a
of
living
being one of the
embodiment.
biggest jerks in DC. When my Doomsday video first went up, that's when I decided to start researching this video. So I announced it in the comments before I knew anything about this matchup. I thought, you know, I'll just whip out a quick video. Trigon doesn't have a ton of appearances, he's a Teen Titans villain. There is no way that Darkseid isn't just going to one-shot. It'll be
And that's what I mean, because like, if you know who Trigon was, guys, if you know who Trigon was, you guys would not know that. Like, you would immediately think that Darkseid would just win. Even like I said, like, I don't know how many times he played in combat, like, just from stuff that I've read, I know like he really is powerful. Like I said, he was able to battle Mr. Mixerplit, and in one storyline of the Emperor Joker Mixerplit Power was able to like bits Darkseid and Highfather. So it's kind of like, I knew he was powerful, so I knew it would be an easy battle, but I didn't know how much power he really was. So I'm hoping with Karen
a nice,
that down.
easy, and uncontroversial video. Well, as it turns out, my initial impression was wrong. Very, very wrong.
One simple stock guys. Traded over and over again, month after month, year after...
Go away.
When it comes to raw strength, Darkseid doesn't even hold a candle to Trigon.
Really?
For starters, I'm going to go over a statement from the Monitor, who claims that the energies emanating from Earth are so powerful that they could only be coming from the Spectre or the demon Trigon.
God damn.
At first it seems like, oh, the Spectre and Trigon have a similar level of power. Not very impressive in the context of this video. After all, we already know that Darkseid should be pretty significantly stronger than the Spectre most of the time. But this statement isn't even really comparing the two in strength at all. It's just saying that the power being detected could only be from those two beings, which doesn't limit Trigon to the Spectre's level. And as you'll see, there is a fair amount of evidence for him being far beyond this. I am just going to briefly go over some of Trigon's family, who will be relevant to the scaling later.
Ugly-ass kid.
First are his three sons, Shug, Ruskoff, and most notably Belial.
He just didn't care about their names.
Etrigan and Merlin are likewise the sons of Belial, and Etrigan has a son called Golgotha.
Oh my god.
And that seems weird for the Belial we usually see to be related to Trigon like this, given that he looks completely different in most other comics.
Yeah.
And you might be fooled into thinking that these are two different Belials. But demons this powerful can basically just look like whatever they want, and it is directly confirmed later that Ruskoff and Sudge are his brothers, confirming their relationship.
Wow, I did not know that.
So yes, Trigon is both Etrigan's and Merlin's grandfather. And yes, this is absolutely hilarious.
It really is.
Grandpa Trigon here again to destroy the universe. Now, Trigon doesn't...
You bullied my grandkids? Your universe is gone. If there's one grandparent you would not want to piss off, it will be Trigon.
Doesn't get a lot of appearances, not compared to Darkseid at least. But he is basically just treated like the strongest dude ever in practically every single one.
Even like a cartoon version.
He would be called the strongest demonic...
Sorry guys, even like in the Teen Titan anime Go, so when Trigon vs. Predator, it was like, the destroyer of worlds, the slavers of billions of galaxies, the most powerful beings. This is Trigon. Like, he's always presented as that nigga, pretty much. I'm sorry, but he's always been presented like as that guy. And even in the Justice League Dark movie, when Trigon was fighting Darkseid, he was like, you're not that fucking impressive. So this is the new god. Like, he was pretty much just spitting on Darkseid. Like, he didn't give a fuck.
Entity the Earth had ever seen, which includes a huge number of incredibly powerful characters, including Neuron, the first of the Fallen, and, of course, Lucifer.
So you're saying he's more powerful than Lucifer?
Ardian, a sorcerer I've talked about before that has fought and defeated the Great Darkness, is also referred to as a demon sometimes, but I'm not sure how much that counts. Even more impressive than those first three, at least, is Etrigan's own child and Trigon's great-grandson, Golgotha. Conceived from within the Great Darkness itself, Golgotha was the most appalling monster to ever come from the depths of hell.
Damn.
Golgotha was so powerful that even only moments after being born, its power was too much for hell to contain.
What the fucking... Look at that thing. I'm like, it looks like some type of Cthulhu shit just going wrong. Like, I'm like, poor bastard. Oh my god, that's hideous.
Eventually spilling over into heaven,
on the inside
where it was confronted by Michael Demiurgos. And in an incredible display of power, Golgotha was able to literally one-shot the Guardian of Heaven.
You're joking.
This is the same Michael that casually dominated the primordial spectre and is considered God's greatest servant, literally taken out in one shot by this darkness-empowered demon spawn. No matter how many times I read it, I just can't get over this one panel of the little dude just going, "Zap!" and then Michael just falling over, utterly defeated in the
Damn!
Man really did not know what hit him when he tried to square
Not
up
at
to my
all.
boy
He wasn't ready. He wasn't
Thanks
ready.
to Merlin's magic, Golgotha was connected to Jason Blood through the same magic that binds him to Etrigan. And it was through this bond that Jason and Etrigan were finally able to defeat him.
So they had to use some type of blood.
I know it seems pretty insane for Trigon to have this level of power.
That's just his fucking great-grandson? What the hell, man? God.
But these aren't the only occasions that he was shown to be this strong. In a Rebirth comic, Baron Winters claims that Trigon threatens to utterly destroy the balance between good and evil that he is required to maintain, and that he would start an apocalypse that no one, himself included, can extinguish. Both he and Raven go on to say that Trigon was an evil beyond any they have suffered before, that Trigon will destroy all balance, that he will destroy everything. Now, I wouldn't view this statement as much under normal circumstances. I mean, this is relegated to Baron Winter's own personal experiences, so it probably isn't even that impressive. And then I remembered that Baron Winters was literally there with Constantine and the others, directly fighting the Great Darkness back in Swamp Thing Volume 2. So when he says that Trigon is the greatest evil he has ever had to face, and that he has the capability to destroy everything, it's actually a pretty huge deal.
That's a big-ass statement.
Arella would call Trigon the King of Demons, only for Raven to chastise her for downplaying her father, calling him Satan only to the 100th power. For those of you that don't know, the name Satan, or the Devil, is actually a title in DC that is given to the ruler of Hell, who at the time of this statement was indeed Lucifer Morningstar. But old Lucy would not be in charge for much longer. And for the record, even if you think that it's Neuron or the First of the Fallen that was running Hell at this time, this statement is obviously still ludicrously insane for Trigon to have. Now, I can't emphasize enough how much stronger Trigon is than his sons. I mean, in one comic, he literally just kills Belial, Sudge, and Ruskoff all at the same time by mistake. And he can really just casually toy around with Belial with no issues at all. Likewise, in Rebirth, Merlin and Etrigan are both scared to face Belial, even together. So it should say a lot that Merlin and Belial, together, were able to directly overthrow.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was a scene in a comic where like mentioned that Trigon's son was sitting like in a place in this room. I was like, bigger or in between universes, and they were just kind of playing around with them, I think, or something like that.
Lucifer, with Belial keeping him in a cage right next to his throne.
Damn.
I'll explain exactly where these guys get this huge amount of power from in another video, but it is important to note that Merlin is often considered a rival of Mordru, who I covered recently and is a powerhouse of a similar nature to Trigon on his own. Later on in the comic, Belial would literally turn Lucifer into a dog, forcing him to call Belial his master, claiming that he was going to remake all of creation in his image.
Damn, he bitched Lucifer like that?
This same Belial was directly called the most powerful being to ever sit on Hell's throne. And as if this wasn't enough, after having Merlin bestow all of his remaining power and life force onto Etrigan, we'd see him easily dispatch this dog Lucifer, and eventually Belial as well. As it currently stands, Etrigan is Satan, the king of hell. Grandpa Trigon really is just the nasty older relative to literally all of hell. And it's reflected in his realm too,
the one guy
which is
you don't
often
want
said
to your house
to make
Thanksgiving?
even hell look like a paradise by comparison, and that Trigon was a devil that no hell would dare spawn.
God damn.
The power ultimately responsible for defeating Blaze was also so intense that Raven felt like it could only be attributed to Trigon, with both Nabu and the Black Racer viewing it as impressive. It should also be noted that Trigon doesn't really fear the Presence at all, and definitely views himself as powerful enough to defeat him, even taunting the Phantom Stranger, telling him that the Presence arranged for him to deliver Raven to him, because the Presence feared what he might do should he go looking for her himself.
Yeah, the Presence kind of like the bitch-ass grandfather.
Even Trigon's sons are able to play poker in a realm that is so dangerous that falling into it would prevent even the Presence from being able to retrieve the Phantom Stranger.
Damn.
In a later comic, Trigon was also placed at the head of a council that included powerhouses like Mr. E, Neuron, and Blight.
I know, so I know.
The Presence would actually turn up to this council only for Trigon to eagerly start a fight with him. Trigon really does not give a damn. We don't see the result of this battle, but both Trigon and the Presence would appear again later, which is actually pretty impressive for both of them.
Yeah, I know, right?
Darkseid is definitely incredibly powerful, but the level that Trigon seems to be at most consistently is just far beyond him. Even with his Soulfire powers, which make him millions of times more powerful, Darkseid would be hopelessly outmatched in a straight fight. Also, as usual, try to think about things holistically. That means from a perspective where you look at everything at once. I already know a small minority of you are going to rush to the comments to nitpick some feats I mentioned.
Well, for me, it's kind of like, I didn't know Trigon was just that much of a shit. I didn't know, like, he was just going to stump, like, Darkseid like that. And while I do have my opinions, I do trust, like I said, WebCamParrot, and I trust what he's saying. He's a much better power scaler than me, so it's kind of like, I'll go with his word. Unless another power scaler I really respect disagrees.
And bring up some low-end outlier for Trigon. Try to remember that every character with more than a handful of appearances has outliers, including Darkseid.
Yeah, Darkseid.
It's not enough to point out an inconsistency, you have to present a fully holistic argument, covering the character overall if you want to make any headway. I'm going to do a specific video on Trigon in the future, talking about all his powers and feats, and I'll debunk the outliers in that video, not here where I don't have the time. I can already hear some of you in the comments bringing up Mixie and Trigon as well, and yes, that is impressive, but it was in Injustice, and while it is possible that they are the same Mixie and Trigon, we just don't know.
Well, aren't they though?
If you do want to say that Trigon scales to Mixie because of that, it's just another reason for him to be far more powerful than Darkseid.
Yeah, because Mixie, like I said,
I already talked about how bonkers Mixie is in my dedicated video on him.
Much more powerful, just fifth dimensional.
Now, while it is true that Trigon is vastly stronger than Darkseid, that doesn't actually mean he wins. What a lot of people don't realise is that Darkseid's greatest asset is his intelligence, not his brute strength, and given the correct circumstances, he does have some prep feats that might allow him to deal with Trigon, especially since Trigon is not really well known for his intelligence. In the past, Darkseid was able to freeze a Godwave-empowered Ares using some advanced tech that he had created. I'm still researching it, but the Godwave is sometimes implied to be on this level, and it's possible that this freezing technology might actually work on someone like Trigon. Unfortunately, it only lasted a short time and would not be enough to stop Trigon forever on its own, assuming that it would even work on him in the first place. Another option Darkseid has under his belt is the contingency that he came up with for Perpetua in Justice League Odyssey.
He could use that.
The comic is ongoing, so things might change, but basically Darkseid felt like he was safe within the specifically protected ghost zone he had created. If this is actually true, whatever technology or means he used to create this would be strong enough to resist Perpetua, and therefore would be powerful enough to contain Trigon as well, if Darkseid could somehow trap him within it. Granted, this is kind of reaching. This should hopefully go without saying, but none of Darkseid's other hacks' abilities are really going to do anything to somebody this powerful. I mean, the Omega Beam's erasure is obviously not going to work. Trigon has his own erasure that's far superior. Being taken to Apocalypse isn't going to do anything. Trigon has come back from Azarath and places like the Netherrealm beyond even that, and could easily return from it, much like the Omega Sanction. And likewise, Darkseid's ability to seal souls away is pretty ineffective on a being that has consumed billions upon billions of souls.
Yeah, so that's not gonna work.
The last out for Darkseid is the possibility of the anti-life equation, but that entirely depends on how the anti-life equation actually works. It's possible that the total control that the equation provides would be enough for Darkseid to gain some significant traction within the collective unconscious, something I'm going to cover in my future DC Multiverse 2 video.
So I can't wait for it.
And the collective unconscious has been used to defeat Trigon before. Raven used it when she became White Raven. But this was a power that she could only use.
The collective unconscious in DC Super understands kind of like this, kind of like God, like one of the ultimate power sources. Because it's used a lot in this mental life, especially when defeating like really powerful enemies. So it's like this really powerful source of things, I guess, and it's missing a lot for what I understand.
In Azarath, and it only worked that one time.
So
Darkseid has also directly seen the collective unconscious in action against the Ares that I mentioned earlier, so it is something that he could think to use. The problem with this is that Darkseid has been trying to get his hands on the anti-life equation for practically his entire life, and has been essentially unable to for the most part. And that's even if it works the way I'm suggesting it does here, which I'm not sure that it does at the moment. Darkseid does have some incredible regeneration that is essentially related to his weird spiritual existence as an archetypal being, which against most opponents probably would give him the time to eventually get the anti-life equation. But Trigon literally consumes entire afterlives full of archetypal beings constantly. Souls themselves are archetypal forms that reside within the dreaming in DC. So Darkseid basically just looks like a slightly larger, spicier piece of popcorn to Trigon, and could just absorb him to the point where Darkseid unfortunately cannot regenerate.
Damn.
So whilst Darkseid does have some potential options, I think they are far-fetched at best, and require some pretty extreme scenarios for Darkseid to actually pull them off. And as a result, I have to give this one to the man in red, Trigon.
Damn.
In most scenarios that we would expect to see them fighting. That's it for the video. If you're curious about more of Darkseid's powers, I have a pretty in-depth video up on my channel already that you guys can check out. And I'll be releasing a Trigon video at some point in the future as well. The Amazo and Superboy Prime videos are still on their way as well. If this video inspired you to purchase any comics at all, please use the affiliate links I will leave in the comments to support the channel and what I do. You can also donate using the PayPal link in the description.
Oh, PayPal.
And otherwise, I will see you all in the next one.
Alright guys, that's the end of the video. I'll stop right there. Wow, I didn't think it would be that big of a stop. I did not think Trigon was gonna come and step on Darkseid. I thought it was gonna be an evil battle, kind of like what any outcome any one of them could win, give a certain situation. No, it's pretty much like unless Darkseid has some seedy ass Batman level prep time up with him and some plans, like Trigon pretty much stomps every single time, which I was not expecting. But anyway, guys, the video. Turn your down below. I know people are going to disagree. Like I said, I do know a podcast. I'm not one of the best. Like I said, I love WebCamParrot, respect him. So I'll agree with his opinion until I hear from maybe another podcast that I think is better or respect more different. But anyway, guys, the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, make sure to subscribe, share the video. Make sure to like it as well. It helps me out a lot. Let me know your thoughts down below about the videos you like, you love, you hate it. Let me know about the reactions you like, love, or hate it. Again, what are your opinions on who you think won? Like I said, I was completely shocked. I didn't think it was going to stop me. I knew Trigon was really powerful, so people were saying, like, oh, Darkseid was going to stump. I didn't believe that. I thought it would be more of an even battle where maybe one of them would come on top. I did not think Trigon would just step on him. But hey, it is what it is. But let me know your thoughts down below. Again, I will leave all the links down to the description from link to the video to link to WebCamParrot, the WebCam channel, his PayPal, and all his links down below. Again, I own nothing. This is just reacting to it. So everything here is WebCamParrot. He's the one that did the research and everything. So please go check out channel, support him, and just let me know your thoughts and check out my descriptions as well. Check out my social media is down in the description as well. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still kind of shocked about this. I didn't think Trigon just gonna come and eat them. But anyway, guys, this is in the video. This is how Cracks, and I'm out. Peace.